I still remember the silence that fell over the phone line when my mother finally spoke. "They're all saying your wedding is going to be an embarrassment, Alina. Your father and we just don't think we can show up." Her words hit me like a wave of cold water. I was standing in the middle of our small apartment, surrounded by fabric samples and half-written invitations, planning what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, I felt my heart cracking open. My name is Alina Ramirez. For 28 years, I had tried so hard to make my parents proud. I studied what they wanted, worked the jobs they approved of, and smiled through family gatherings even when I felt invisible. Then I met Daniel, kind, steady, hardworking Daniel, who loved me exactly as I was. We weren't planning a lavish 5-star wedding. We chose a beautiful garden venue with fairy lights, a simple but elegant dress I paid for myself, and a guest list filled with people who genuinely cared about us. It wasn't cheap, but it was meaningful. It was ours. When I excitedly told my parents about our plans, I expected joy, maybe even tears of happiness. What I got instead was disappointment. My mother sighed heavily. "Alina, be realistic. Daniel is a school teacher, you're a graphic designer. People will expect more. This whole thing, it just looks small. Cheap. It's going to embarrass the entire family." My father was even blunter on the next call. "We raised you better than this. If you go through with this low-key wedding, don't expect us to stand there smiling like everything is fine." Then came the group family chat. My older sister posted, "Honestly, it's kind of embarrassing. No offense, but we can't be associated with something that looks so basic." Cousins liked the message. Aunts added laughing emojis. They laughed and called my wedding an embarrassment, as if my love story was something to be ashamed of. I cried for days, but I refused to cancel. Daniel held me and whispered, "This day is about us, not them." So we continued planning, even as the RSVPs from my side of the family slowly dried up. But what I didn't know that day was that their rejection would set in motion something none of us could have predicted. Their cruel laughter planted seeds that would grow into a harvest they never saw coming. The weeks leading up to the wedding became a slow kind of heartbreak I had never experienced before. Every time I tried to share a detail, the flowers we chose, the playlist we made, the vows we were writing, my mother would respond with cold silence or thinly veiled criticism. "Just don't expect us to dance or make speeches. We don't want to pretend we're happy about this." My sister stopped replying to my messages altogether. When I called her, she said, "Look, Alina, I love you, but I can't stand next to you in photos knowing how people will judge us. It reflects badly on all of us." I felt so small, so unworthy. Nights became filled with doubt. I would stare at my wedding dress hanging in the closet and wonder if they were right. Was I disappointing everyone? Was my love for Daniel really not enough? Daniel tried his best to comfort me, but even he couldn't shield me from the pain of being rejected by the people who were supposed to love me most. My closest cousins sent polite excuses. Only 2 distant relatives said they might come. The empty seats on my side of the aisle began to haunt my dreams. One evening, just 10 days before the wedding, my father called. His voice was heavy with finality. "We've decided not to attend, Alina. It's too embarrassing for us. We can't be seen supporting something so beneath what we raised you for. Maybe one day you'll understand and thank us for being honest." I hung up and broke down completely. I cried until my chest hurt. The little girl inside me who had always sought their approval felt completely shattered. In that moment, something deep inside me shifted. The pain was so intense that it burned away the constant need to please them. I looked at Daniel and said quietly, "They're not coming, none of them." He pulled me close. "Then we'll walk down that aisle together, just us and the people who actually want to be there. This is our beginning, not theirs." I tried to move forward, but the betrayal ran deep. I kept replaying their words. "Embarrassment, cheap, beneath you." They had reduced my love, my choices, and my happiness to something shameful. The final blow came 2 days before the wedding. My mother sent a short text. "We wish you well, but please don't tag us in any photos. We don't want to be associated with it." I sat on the edge of the bed, holding my phone, feeling completely abandoned on what should have been the most beautiful chapter of my life. My own family had chosen their image over my heart. Yet even in that darkness, a quiet strength began to grow. I stopped begging. I stopped explaining. I decided that if they saw my wedding as an embarrassment, then I would make sure the day was filled with so much genuine love and joy that their absence would speak louder than any words. But what I didn't realize was that the universe had already begun writing a different ending. One that would force my family to face the consequences of their cruelty in the most unexpected way. Our wedding day arrived under a soft golden sky. The garden looked magical with twinkling lights and simple white flowers. Only a handful of my relatives showed up, but Daniel's side filled the seats with warmth and laughter. I walked down the aisle alone, head high, heart full. When Daniel took my hands and looked into my eyes, all the pain of the previous weeks melted away. In that moment, I chose joy over bitterness. We danced, we laughed, we promised forever surrounded by people who celebrated us without judgment. It was simple, beautiful, and deeply meaningful. For the first time in months, I felt free. 3 weeks after the wedding, karma began to unfold in ways no one could have scripted. Daniel had been quietly working on a community education project for underprivileged children. What none of us, including my family, knew was that a major national news channel had been following the project. They decided to run a special feature on innovative young teachers making a real difference. The segment aired on prime time. In the middle of it, they showed footage from our wedding, not as the main focus, but as a tender moment of Daniel and me exchanging vows. The reporter highlighted how Daniel balanced his demanding work with building a loving home. The response was overwhelming. Within hours, the video went viral. Messages poured in praising Daniel's dedication and our beautiful, heartfelt ceremony. People commented on how refreshing it was to see a couple choose meaning over extravagance. Then the phone calls started. First from my sister, then my mother, then my father, dozens of missed calls and frantic texts. "Alina, why didn't you tell us Daniel was going to be on national television? Why didn't you invite us properly? Everyone is asking why we weren't there. This looks so bad for us." My mother's voice cracked when she finally reached me. "We saw the segment. The wedding, it looked lovely on camera. People are saying we missed something special. We feel terrible." I stayed calm. "You called it an embarrassment, Mom. You said it would shame the family. You chose not to come. Now the world has seen what you rejected." The silence on her end was heavy. Over the following weeks, the consequences kept unfolding. My parents' social circle, the same people whose opinions they feared, began asking questions. Why didn't they attend their own daughter's wedding? Why had they called it embarrassing when it was now being praised as authentic and inspiring? My sister's friends started distancing themselves, uncomfortable with how the family had treated me. The image they had tried so desperately to protect was now cracked by their own choices. One evening, my parents showed up at our door unannounced. My mother's eyes were red. My father looked smaller than I had ever seen him. "We were wrong, Alina," my father said quietly. "We let pride and other people's opinions blind us. We hurt you deeply." I invited them in. We sat down, and for the first time, I spoke from my heart without anger. "You didn't just miss a wedding. You missed your daughter's happiness. You taught me that love has conditions, and I spent years trying to meet them. But real love doesn't shame you for choosing your own path." Tears fell down my mother's cheeks. "Can you ever forgive us?" I looked at both of them and answered softly. "I'm learning to forgive. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting the pain or pretending it didn't change me. I've built a beautiful life with Daniel. I hope one day you can be truly happy for us, not because it looks good, but because you love me." They left that night quieter than they had arrived. There were no grand apologies or dramatic reconciliations, but the dynamic had shifted. They could no longer pretend their words hadn't carried weight. In the months that followed, my family slowly tried to rebuild bridges. Some relationships healed gently, others remained distant, but I no longer carried the weight of their approval on my shoulders. Daniel and I continued building our life together, simple, loving, and true to who we are. And every time I look at our wedding photos, I no longer see absence. I see courage. I see the day I chose myself and my happiness over their expectations. If there's one lesson I want to leave with you, it's this. Never let anyone, not even your own family, convince you that your love, your choices, or your joy is an embarrassment. Your worth is not measured by how grand something looks to others, but by how deeply it fills your heart. Sometimes the people who should lift you up are the ones who try to shrink you. When that happens, don't shrink. Stand tall, protect your peace, and keep walking toward the life that feels right for you. Karma doesn't always arrive with loud thunder. Sometimes it arrives quietly, through truth, through time, and through the gentle light of a simple garden wedding that touched more hearts than any lavish display ever could. I no longer feel broken by their rejection. Instead, I feel grateful, because their absence taught me how to stand in my own worth. And that is the most beautiful gift I received on my wedding day. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been made to feel small by the people who were supposed to love you most, know that you are not alone. Your happiness is never an embarrassment, it is your birthright. If this story touched you, share your thoughts below. Have you ever faced family rejection on a special day? How did you find your strength? Until next time, choose love, choose yourself, and never dim your light for anyone. This is Alina, signing off with a full heart.